There has always been a thin line between history, myth, and legend. For some, these all manifest at the same time in very unsettling ways. My father spoke often about these families, or clans of werewolves, that lived quietly in the forests of the Rocky Mountains in Rye, Colorado. Many of these sightings and incidents he spoke of left even the most toughest and stoic of men petrified with fear, some of which he and I both knew personally. And even for my father to admit that what he saw left him frozen in terror the night he was working near the national park in Rye. He was on his way home, winding through the dark roads with dense forest surrounding him, when his brights picked up on a large dark figure in the distance. Assuming it was a large animal in the road, he started flashing his brights in hopes the animal would scurry away. But it didn't. And the closer his vehicle got to this figure, the shape of it became more and more clear that it wasn't a normal animal. Slowing down but still approaching the mysterious creature, it turned around and faced the vehicle. Its stature at least 8 feet tall, with glowing yellow eyes that illuminated brighter than the moon that night. It had blood dripping from its mouth, still clenching its prey in its claw-like hands. It was a werewolf, and it was staring straight at my father. The car brakes slammed and screeched, and that must have bothered the creature enough to place the prey in its mouth, biting down with intensity before leaping into the forest. At any time, the werewolf could have easily dropped its current meal and made my father its next prey. To make this even more unsettling, he couldn't tell what the creature was feasting on, but he said it looked like a small child. Hearing these stories not only intrigued me, but made me more curious to look into these sightings and potential missing persons cases. Taking it upon myself to take a weekend to go explore the forest, and maybe ask the locals if they knew, saw, or heard of any werewolves. It did not take long before entering the small mountain town that I actually ran into an old friend. He and his family have been living in Rye and were just out doing some Colorado recreational activities. After exchanging kind words, he asked me what I was up to in the mountains this weekend. I smirked and told him about researching werewolves in the area and wanted to go conduct some interviews and camp out in the hotspot areas where the locals had seen sightings. His smile disappeared, and directly after came a sincere warning. Please, my friend, you don't understand what you're getting yourself into, or who you are getting involved with. These people, man, I'm just telling you, they are evil. He gripped my arm and looked into my eyes as he said it, in shock at what I was hearing, partly due to the stories my father told me, but now hearing it from an old friend who lives up in the mountains left me actually now believing something was being hidden, something that must go back generations, passed down from father to son. I asked my friend before parting ways if he was talking about the werewolf clans, and if he knew where they lived. He knew I wasn't going to let this go. My friend finally, after closing his eyes and taking a deep breath, then exhaling, said, "They live all over the area, man. The sheriff knows who they are. We all do. They watch us and treat us like prey, only picking off who and what they need. They warned us years ago when a couple of locals gathered together to hunt these creatures and families down. The clans not only slaughtered those locals who attempted to hunt them, showing the local hunters who the real predators were, they also went after the kids in the town, after the werewolves feasted in primal rage and revenge. So please, leave them alone." Making my way back to my vehicle, I couldn't help but think about what my friend said about the kids being hunted. Was that around the same time my father saw that creature in the road? What my friend told me sat with me in an unsettling manner, but of course, me being persistent, I still didn't heed his warning. Making camp that night by one of the so-called hotspots, I began getting my gear prepped. The plan was to camp out that evening and do some nighttime exploring, and do some more hiking in the morning. Once nighttime came and darkness settled in, but the only light illuminating was the moon, it was time to take a stroll down the road. The sense of being watched was intense, but in my mind, I thought it was the stories I've been told leading up to this adventure. Then I heard something from the forest, coming from the side of the road I was traveling down. To the left of me was a large mountain separated by the road, and to my right was the forest. The sound of snapping branches and tree limbs, shaking and moving, became more and more apparent the longer I walked. At this point, my heart began to beat through my chest, mind racing as I started to rethink my life choices. Then, from the darkness of the forest, a creature emerged, shining my flashlight to reveal what it was. It was a deer. Lowering my flashlight and exhaling in relief, I let out a chuckle and spoke aloud to the deer. "You scared the shit out of me, creature." Looking back at me with its clueless expression, the deer all of a sudden was pounced on violently and viciously by the largest creature I've ever seen. And within seconds, blood of the animal was splattered all over me. Dropping my flashlight and wiping the blood from my face, I looked up to my dismay and saw that the legends were true. A werewolf, feasting on its fresh catch of the night. Its attention was finally on me. Standing upright and staring right through my soul, I for sure thought I was dead, and this was it. The werewolf snarled and got back down on all fours, coming towards me as if it was about to attack, its features only noticeable by the moonlight and by the flashlight that was dropped on the ground. The beast was inches away from my face, as I could see the fresh blood and smell of death on its breath. It slashed at my chest, slicing me open really good before it turned around, gripped the deer it killed earlier in its mouth, and leaped straight up the mountain with ease. I eventually made it back to my car, losing lots of blood and feeling nauseous. I knew I had to get medical help. Driving down the mountain road, I still felt as if something was stalking me, and it didn't matter how fast I accelerated. I was almost close to town when I stopped my car with haste as 4 people were standing in the middle of the road, all of them wearing long black cloaks with hoods concealing their identity. One of them approached my vehicle, with their hand coming up and tapping on my driver's side window with these long claw-like nails. I couldn't move, and again the finger tapped on my window, this time scraping its nail down the window. I don't know why, but I rolled down my window. The dark cloaked figure had bright yellow eyes just like the werewolf I witnessed earlier. The figure removed its hood. It was my friend. My friend I saw in town earlier that day. Before I could say a word, he showed me his hands. They were bloody and had large claw-like nails. He smiled and said to me, "I told you, but you did not listen. Take the slash on your chest as a warning. Next time, you will be our meal." His smile revealed these bloody sharp teeth, as he signaled to the others to let me pass. To this day, I have not and cannot go back to that forest. The stories are true.